Alexandria was the crown jewel of the ancient world, where knowledge wasn't just valued, it was revered. At its heart stood the Library of Alexandria, a bold attempt to collect all the wisdom of the known world. Legends say it housed over 500,000 scrolls, preserving the brilliance of Greek philosophy, Egyptian astronomy, Indian mathematics, and more. This was not just a library, it was humanity's first great experiment in universal knowledge. But by the 4th century CE, Alexandria's brilliance began to unravel. Political factions tore the city apart, while rising tensions between pagan traditions and Christianity fractured its unity. Temples that once echoed with philosophical debates were emptied or destroyed. A city built on the free exchange of ideas became a battleground of fear and suspicion. Amid this turmoil, Hypatia rose. A philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer, she embodied everything Alexandria had once been, a city of reason, discovery, and intellectual courage. Yet the Alexandria she inherited was no longer a sanctuary for knowledge. It was a city caught in the grip of forces that would soon destroy everything she stood for. How did the city that sought to know everything betray its brightest mind? And what does Hypatia's story reveal about the fragility of human progress? In a world where women were rarely seen as scholars, Hypatia not only became one, she redefined what it meant to be one. Under the guidance of her father Theon, a renowned mathematician and astronomer, she shattered the barriers of her time. By mastering geometry, astronomy, and the philosophy of Plato and Plotinus, Hypatia transformed herself into one of Alexandria's brightest minds. But her genius didn't end with learning. It began there. As the leader of Alexandria's Neoplatonic school, Hypatia's lectures on mathematics and philosophy became legendary. Students traveled from across the Mediterranean to hear her speak, drawn not just by her knowledge but by her revolutionary teaching style. She simplified abstract theories using vivid examples to make them accessible, and encouraged her students to question, debate, and think critically. Her classroom was a sanctuary for reason in a city increasingly divided by ideology. Hypatia's contributions extended far beyond her lectures. She refined the astrolabe, enabling sailors to navigate the stars with greater precision, and the hydrometer, a tool that transformed the study of liquids. These innovations bridged the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical application, cementing her legacy as a pioneer of science. Yet Hypatia's prominence came with peril. Rooted in the teachings of Plato, her Neoplatonic philosophy sought to harmonize the material and the divine through reason, a worldview that clashed with the rising dominance of Christianity in Alexandria. Her adherence to these ideals made her a symbol of resistance, admired by some but feared by others. In a city where faith and politics were colliding, Hypatia's brilliance turned her into a lightning rod for controversy, a figure who stood at the center of a storm that was about to erupt. Hypatia's intellect and influence reached far beyond the walls of her classroom. In a city fractured by faith and politics, she became a trusted advisor to Orestes, the Roman governor. Orestes valued her wisdom, relying on her counsel during a time of growing unrest. Together they symbolized the ideals of reason and governance, a stark contrast to the rising wave of zealotry sweeping through Alexandria. This prominence came at a dangerous cost. Orestes was locked in a bitter power struggle with Cyril, the bishop of Alexandria. Orestes represented the Roman Empire's tolerance of religious pluralism, while Cyril sought to establish Christianity as the city's unchallenged authority. To Cyril, Hypatia was more than an advisor. She was a symbol of the pagan traditions he aimed to eradicate. Cyril's followers began to spread rumors. They accused Hypatia of witchcraft, claiming that her knowledge was unnatural and that she used it to control Orestes. In a city already gripped by fear and superstition, these baseless accusations found fertile ground. To a volatile populace, Hypatia's brilliance became something to fear. While many admired her, fear of Cyril's growing influence silenced her defenders. Isolated and vulnerable, Hypatia became the scapegoat for tensions far beyond her control. In the hands of Cyril's supporters, her intellect, once celebrated, was twisted into a weapon against her. The stage was set for a tragic collision of power, faith, and reason. By 415 CE, Alexandria was a city on the edge, and Hypatia became the unwitting target of its boiling tensions. The accusations against her, amplified by Cyril's followers, painted her as a sorceress manipulating Orestes to oppose Christian dominance. The final spark came after a fiery sermon by one of Cyril's allies who condemned Hypatia as a threat to the faith. The city's fragile peace shattered. One fateful day, as Hypatia travelled through Alexandria, a mob descended upon her. Composed of zealous Christians, emboldened by Cyril's growing influence, they dragged her from her chariot into the streets. What followed was an act of unspeakable barbarity. Hypatia was brutally murdered, her body desecrated in a grotesque display of hatred and ignorance. Her death was more than the silencing of a philosopher. It was the violent destruction of reason, inquiry, and the pursuit of knowledge. The consequences were devastating. With Hypatia's murder, Alexandria's philosophical schools lost their leader, and its reputation as the intellectual heart of the ancient world began to crumble. Scholars fled, the vibrant exchange of ideas dwindled, and the city's golden age gave way to obscurity. Yet Hypatia's story did not end in the streets of Alexandria. In the immediate aftermath, she became a symbol of what was lost, a martyr for intellectual freedom and a stark warning about the dangers of fanaticism. Her death marked a turning point in history, a moment when fear eclipsed reason, and the cost of that loss would ripple through time. Hypatia's death was not the end of her influence. Though her life was cut tragically short, the ideas she championed endured, rippling through history. Her students, like Synesius of Cyrene, carried her teachings across the Mediterranean, blending her philosophical insights with their own. While much of her original work has been lost, her refinements of tools like the astrolabe and hydrometer transformed navigation and the study of liquids, paving the way for scientific advancements that reshaped the world. Centuries later, during the Enlightenment, Hypatia's story was rediscovered. Thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot celebrated her as a martyr for free thought, a poignant reminder of the dangers of dogma and the price of ignorance. In their hands, Hypatia became a rallying cry for reason and intellectual freedom, a figure who transcended her time to inspire an age of enlightenment. In modern times, Hypatia has been embraced as a feminist icon. Her defiance of societal constraints and her brilliance in fields dominated by men serve as a reminder of the power of women to challenge and redefine history. She is not merely remembered as a scholar, but as a symbol of resilience and courage in the face of overwhelming opposition. Hypatia's legacy is more than the story of one woman's brilliance. It is a testament to the enduring power of knowledge and the unyielding human desire to seek the truth. Her life challenges us to ask, what are we willing to risk for the sake of knowledge? Her light, though nearly extinguished by hatred, continues to illuminate our understanding of the past and inspire our vision for the future. No.